Years ago, I encountered this wooden bead shown on this earring, and I was fascinated by the shape of it, and so I tried to capture it in beads. For this earring, I caught the same shape in size 15 seed beads, and I was fascinated about the way it went together. Here's another example. It's a little pillow. It's hollow. It's very strong and firm. It's made out of size 11 seed beads, and it starts out as two triangles. So I beaded a triangle like this, and then paired it with a second one. This one's not the same size, but it's suitable for demonstration. And instead of putting them together so that their long edges met, if you take the center of the rib and put it along the center of a long side and begin to zip it up that way, it forms that intriguing shape. So it yields this finished shape. Now here's one that I didn't finish zipping up so that you can see. Here's one triangle, and on the flip side here's the other triangle, and then from the middle of the rib you start to sew it from the middle of the length of the other triangle's long sides. So it forms this shape. Then I would continue along here, and then I would continue there, and so it would yield this pillow. I actually taught this necklace that has several of these when I was in Japan, and they kitted it in Japanese for the Japanese teachers. So that's the same peyote stitch triangles made into the same little pillows. And here's another example. So I did a four-sided. I took fabric and another piece of fabric, four-sided, and I said, what would happen if I did the same thing? So I would start on the point of one of the squares and put it in the middle of one of the long sides of another square, and then begin stitching it up. So stitch there, and stitch along here. So let's see, I have a little bit of thread here. Let's see if we can demonstrate that. So again, you're going to put the point along the middle of a long end. So I'll do it like so. And I don't care that the little tag of thread sticks out. I made a knot in the thread so that it has a little flourish there. So I'm going to go into the two layers of felt from the back and pull it till it almost disappears, and then come into the loop the way we do half hitch knots in beadwork. And this is similar to, whoops, it ends up being similar to the blanket stitch, but there's a little special twist to it. So again, into the fabric, and then into the loop, and again into the fabric, and into the loop. And so let's fast forward over to this one. So here we started here, and we did this edge, and this edge, and this edge, and this, and this, and then just before we finish, that last edge is when you would stuff it with something. I used wool because, you know, I have lots of wool, but you could use polyester, and I imagine you could use other things as well, but polyester or wool would be my suggestions. So here are some finished ones. This one was out of gray commercial felt, and then I needle felted a little design on the top and added 3 little drop beads there. The drop beads against the felt always make for such a beautiful optical thing. Your eyes kind of take in the ethereal fuzziness of the felt, but then with the glass beads on it, it forces them to kind of focus on their shiny smoothness against the fuzzy material. It's kind of fascinating. So that's one. This one's a little bit larger, out of commercial felt that in colors, and here I cut a design out with scissors and did some little stitches around the side, and I took the pieces that I cut out and put them on the bottom side of the pincushion. And again, I like those little knots, so I let them be part of the design. I'm kind of inspired by, I read a couple of books by Alabama Channon that talk about her work with knits and having the little stitches show like that. So that's where I got that from. And here's a smaller version, and I just did one layer of applique. This one has contrasting thread, and it's very Japanese to have this kind of indigo blue and then with the white thread. Here's yet another, and by the time I got around to making this one, I thought how clever it would be to put a weight in it. So I put a quarter in the bottom before I sewed it up, but you could use a washer. It would probably be less expensive than a quarter. So that's a little project I'd like to leave with you today. So feel free to take some equally sized squares, put one corner in the middle of a long side of the opposite square, and start stitching them up and embellish them as you would. And I appreciate your stitching with me today. Thank you.